All right, joined now by Liberty senior guard Darius McGhee. Darius, wild week for you guys. Have you guys got back and recovered? Felt like a really emotional 2 games on that road trip.
For sure. We got a little recovery stuff in today, and guys have pretty much just been trying to get our bodies as close to 100% as possible heading into next week. So,
We're joined by John Manson as well. John, why don't you jump in and give us some questions for Darius tonight?
Sure. Good to see you guys tonight. Darius, thanks for joining us. A lot of fun. Been a lot of fun watching you the last few years, and we're all looking. I started to say looking forward to senior night, but I'm not sure we're necessarily looking forward to it. We don't want to see your career come to an end at Liberty, but we'll always be cheering for you wherever you're at, wherever you're playing. But has it kind of sunk into you a little bit the last 24 hours or so that you got your last regular season home game at least coming up at Liberty Arena on Friday?
not necessarily. I mean, as a competitor, it seemed like the season just flew by just because you're so focused throughout the weeks, just preparing for the 2 games every week that we have. But I mean, Blake Preston, who has been here for 5 years with me, he makes sure to let me know, like, hey, D, we only got so many more of these. Or like last game against Jack State, he said, wow, it's really only two more of these before the postseason, right before tip-off. So unless it's moments like that, I typically don't really pay too much attention.
Hey, Darius, being a North Carolina native from the great city of Roxborough, where there's probably 3 inches of snow on the ground right now. No, I don't know. It just snows a lot in Roxborough. Do your folks back home, like I know your family, of course, like they're pay attention to your games. If they're not there, they're watching. But like, are there other people in your hometown, like maybe people you went to school with, or like people in your neighborhood that like really know, like, like your game and are paying attention to Liberty basketball because of all the success that you've had?
For sure. I mean, I've always felt the love and support from my hometown, even since I was a freshman. So I mean, it's always been in a big scale. Honestly, like I get text messages and social media notifications from people I, like you said, went to school with, family members, of course, former coaches. So I've always felt the love and support. So they time in and they watch every single game, I think. So it's super dope to have, honestly.
Darius, that game on Saturday against Jacksonville State felt very intense, very physical. Do you think that was maybe the most physical game of the year, or up there?
I mean, that's college basketball. Every game is physical in its own way. I mean, I don't think it's subpar a lot of other games. I think it's just another basketball game. The physicality just might have showed in a very direct way in that game, but I don't think that it's been significantly different than any other ones.
Darius, I'm wondering who's one of your Liberty teammates, not on the current team, but one of your former teammates that you text with the most, and it can't be Mayo or Cuff or Zach because they're all on staff. So who's one of your former Liberty teammates you text the most?
I'll probably say Titus Dean, who was a walk-on for us. Me and Titus actually were roommates when we first got to campus, so we have an unbelievable relationship. We were roommates for not just my freshman year on campus, but 2 years off campus. So our relationship is super, super deep. Whether it's music, his music career, he's always like sending me songs to kind of let me pre-listen to them before they come out. Or we're just talking basketball, relationships. Like that's definitely all of them are my brothers, but we definitely have a very deep relationship. So probably definitely Titus Dean.
Yeah, and I was going to ask too about some of your former teammates because we were watching the game on TV the other night, and they showed just a real quick shot of Elijah Cuffey like yelling something as you guys were trying to get back on defense. And what is it like having them as guys that are on staff now, some of your former teammates? And then I'm a follow up to John's question: who on the team right now will you be texting next year when you're not on the team?
It's definitely a unique situation that we are afforded to have those two guys, Mayo and Cuff, on staff. And I think it's super easy to listen to them. Like, it's super easy for them to grab our ear just from the fact that they still get out there and play. But being former teammates of theirs, you respect their game first and foremost. So their opinion holds a lot of weight to you. So those guys always give great advice in the mix of games. whether it be life stuff, you sit down at dinner, like you'll get a text message after practice like, hey, let's go to such and such and grab dinner just to talk, get away from basketball a little bit. So I think they add a very unique blessing to our family, to our program. And I'll probably be texting all the guys because they're all very silly. They're all characters in their own way, and I love each one of them. But probably CP, probably be who I text the most, just because I always want to help him, especially just because we relate in so many different ways the most I can. So.
Darius, was looking through some of your numbers this year. Two things really have stood out for me that have maybe made you, obviously you were the player of the year last year, so you already were pretty good. But I think if maybe taking you a little bit to the next level is your turnover rate, especially in conference play. It seems like it's really improved. Would you attribute that a lot to Colin Porter? Maybe taking the ball a little bit more and the ball handling responsibilities from you?
Absolutely. And he's done a great job this season. Like, he just makes the game so much easier. It's almost like having two Kyle Rose on the floor. And I also think it's a little bit of just like life. When you experience things, you're able to kind of prepare yourself for just in case those situations happen again. So last year I kind of used that. Like, I had to just kind of get through the fire and get through it the best way I could. So obviously now in year 2, I'm better prepared for those similar situations, similar schemes that teams ran last year. So I think all of that together is kind of what shot the turnover rate down, which I'm pretty sure we're all very excited to see go down.
Darius, despite the loss Thursday night, it was a lot of fun to be down there and, watch you go off for 43. Just one of the best performances I've ever seen you have. And you that's saying something because you've had a lot. But as you kind of think back over your time at Liberty, who's the one teammate? And again, I know you can get your shot off against anybody, but who's the one teammate when you guys are playing pickup in the summer or whatever? Who's the one teammate over the last 5 years that's been the toughest to get your shot off against?
All of them. They're all very different. So y'all gotta. It's almost like you gotta look to attack each one differently. From when I first got here, it was Lavelle, Georgie a little bit, Cuff of course. Then it was just strictly Cuff. Then you got Isaiah and Shiloh in the mix. Now you got JV in the mix. They're all so different defenders, and they position themselves very differently on certain things. So, I always tell them all the time, I get my scoring ability from playing against those guys. Like, the credit goes to them. Like, in a way, I guess I'm sharpening their defensive skills when they have to guard smaller guards, and playing against their length and athleticism, it definitely puts me in a box. So it definitely makes me figure out how to get done. So in game situations, I'm best prepared. But all of those guys are a handful for sure.
It looks like you guys really turned the page from that Kennesaw State game against Jacksonville State. Is it something, when you have a loss like that to an important game, is it something that you really flush and turn the page, or is it something that you kind of hold on to knowing that you could have another opportunity to play them in a more meaningful game down the road?
A little mixture of both, but it's a very similar feeling to losing any other game. It isn't like your core identity needs to be flipped. It's a lot of minor adjustments. So you look at that game, we had that game put away. They did a great job and made us pay for our lack of execution on both ends and came back and won the game. So you understand that it's minor adjustments, so therefore that way it's not that deflating of a loss, even though it does seem like there's big stakes around the game. So it definitely helped us turn the page as quickly just because of the perspective we had on the game.
Darius, I know that you're a team first guy and you're probably the most humble superstar in the country. But I was looking at some numbers. You on KenPom, you are now in the top 10 for their Player of the Year standings. And if you look at some of the names on this list, some of the top players in the country, and there hasn't been a player from a small conference on this list since 2016. What does it mean to you to be kind of mentioned with some of these guys?
I mean, it's definitely an honor. You look at the list, there's a ton of talent on there, and just to understand that the work that you put in and the beauty of collaborating with those in your program, like collaborating with my teammates, collaborating with my coaches, is like, this has been the byproduct of it. So I think that's one thing that I'm super grateful for first. But you would have told me 4 years ago that I'd be on a list with the caliber of these guys, and I probably wouldn't have thought that.
So Darius, as you kind of come to the end of your Liberty career, what's something that you'll take with you? What's something that kind of sticks out the most of your time at Liberty, and something that you'll take with you for the rest of your life?
The power of unconditional love. Like when you've been in a program like this for 5 years and you experience that day in and day out, I think it's the only way you can allow for true growth in a person. And I would probably say the power of collaborating. Like I just said, to me, life is a collaboration. No one's the same. So the ability to relate and continue to enhance character in one, not just yourself, is what's going to move the ball forward for not just you, but the world. So I'll probably say those two things.
That was deep. Put that on a shirt, John.
There you
go. So Darius, 2 games to end the season, kind of a different way of playing a team back to back. What's your thoughts on having to play Queens Wednesday in Charlotte, then coming back to Lynchburg to play them on Friday? Is that kind of an interesting way to end the year?
A little bit, but at the end of the day, it's still the same. Like you still got to prepare for the first game, take the first game for the first game, put yourself in the best possible position to be successful the first night. And after that game finished, then you can worry about what the small tweaks are to help you be successful for the next. So, like it's a little weird just because you play the same team back to back, but the process is still the same.
I feel like that COVID year might have kind of helped you. I know it's a little different traveling, but maybe got a little bit of experience with that.
Absolutely.
All right, one last question for you, Darius. I know you guys take this one game at a time, and we all appreciate that. But what would it mean to you to get Liberty back to the NCAA tournament in your last year?
That's obviously a goal of ours, and it would be spectacular to, not from my standpoint, like for it to be closure for my career or anything, but last year I kind of felt disappointed just because that freshman class didn't have a chance to experience it. So to be able to be a part of a team and help that sophomore class and freshman class experience that and hopefully continue that on. So I think that's probably would be the exciting part for me.
Well, Darius, thank you so much for taking some time to come on and join us. It has been an absolute joy to watch your career from freshman to now, and your growth and how humble you've been throughout it all. So we really do appreciate it, and best of luck for the rest of the way.
Appreciate you guys.